Narwhals Are So Cool by Eva. Have you ever wondered about the mysterious unicorn of the sea? My sections are on narwhals' teeth, what they eat, where they live, adaptations, their senses, migration, who can hunt them, captivity, how many are in the wild, what people use their tusks for, dangers, and other fun facts. I've talked enough. Let's go learn about the mysterious unicorn of the sea. My, what a big tooth you have! The narwhal's horn is actually not a horn at all. It is actually an overgrown tooth made of ivory. On a normal occasion, only males can have tusks, but rarely females can have tusks, but they are less prominent. Males' tusks can grow up to 9 feet long. Narwhals do not typically have 2 tusks, but in 1684, a female was discovered with 2 tusks. Now let's get to the question that has been stumping scientists for decades. What do narwhals use their tusks for? Now I'm going to answer that. Narwhals use their tusks for 2 different things. First, they use it to stun prey by whipping their heads back and forth. Second, their tusk is filled with nerves like a huge sensory organ. It helps them sense changes in the water, like the salinity. It also helps them find food and females. It is important to be able to sense the salinity because narwhals need to know when the water is about to freeze. Being able to sense when the ice is going to freeze is important because if they didn't know when the water was going to freeze, then they could become trapped under the ice. Life in Canada, Russia, Norway, and Greenland. In their natural habitat, their diet is made up of mostly squid, shrimp, and fish. Since they can't very well chew their food because they only have 2 teeth, including the giant tusk, narwhals suck in their food like giant vacuums. They eat about 66 pounds of food a day. Some dangers to narwhals are flash freezes, orcas, sharks, walrus pollution, and people. Awesome adaptations. Let's start off with how do narwhals survive in freezing Arctic Ocean? Narwhals' bodies are composed of 40% blubber, which can be 3 to 4 inches thick, and their sausage shape also helps them trap heat in their bodies. That is how they keep warm in the freezing Arctic waters. Lots of people ask how heavy are narwhals, how long are narwhals, what colors are narwhals, and what do their bodies look like? Well, males weigh around 3,500 pounds and females weigh around 2,200 pounds. Narwhal babies are normally around 5 feet long. Females are typically 11 feet long and males are around 20 feet long. Narwhal babies are blue-gray. Juvenile narwhals are a blue-black. Adults are light gray, and really old narwhals are nearly all white. Since narwhals breathe air, do they sleep underwater or do they float? Narwhals actually sleep underwater. They can hold their breath for 25 minutes and are conscious breathers. This means they have to remember to breathe. So when they sleep, half the brain remains awake, half goes to sleep, and the half awake tells the narwhal's body when to come up for air and breathe. Narwhals can come up for air and stay asleep. Narwhals don't have ears. Instead, they use an assortment of clicks and whistles, echolocation. Their sounds bounce around underwater. Then, when they hit something, they travel back to the narwhal as vibrations. Then travel through the narwhal's head to the narwhal's brain and tell the narwhal what is there, giving it an underwater radar. For example, a narwhal might use echolocation to find a hole in the ice or to find food. Now we are going to talk about some of the physical adaptations. The physical adaptations that separates narwhals from beluga whales and dolphins are, instead of having large flippers, narwhals have 2 tiny fins on the sides so they can swim close below the chunks of ice when they're looking for a breathing hole. They have a blowhole. Instead of having a dorsal fin, they have a small ridge on there. They have one calf every 3 years or so. Females become able to have babies at 5 years old, but males become able to be fathers at 8 years old. Of course, they have a huge tusk. In the winter, they spend about 3 hours of the day below 800 meters of water and can dive on one breath for 25 minutes. The migrating life. Narwhals spend their winters under 95% frozen sea ice between Greenland and Baffin Island, relying mostly on squid and other crustaceans for food at great depths. Narwhals breed at the end of winter in deep water, then gestation lasts for 14 to 16 months, and calves are born the next summer in shallow water near where the narwhals migrate for the summer months. This migration is nearly 300 kilometers while avoiding orcas, polar bears, sharks, and walruses and hunters. Wow, that's a lot to avoid. While migrating, more than 1,000 narwhals might swim together. The narwhals first travel north along the coast of Baffin Island, then past the eastern edge of Eclipse Sound where the ice meets the open ocean. Near the community of Pond Inlet, narwhals migrate following the Arctic ice pack. The movement of the ice pack is predictable, so traveling with it lowers the narwhal's chances of getting trapped under the ice. The Eclipse Sound is still too frozen to travel into, so they continue north. The Arctic floe edge may seem like a big obstacle, but it's also a huge food source for narwhals. I bet you're wondering what the Arctic floe edge is. The Arctic floe edge is where land fast ice melts, meets the open ocean in the spring. It becomes one of the most dynamic ecosystems in the world. Now let's get back on topic. Our narwhals wait for cracks in the ice and paths that form between ice sheets. Other narwhal pods might appear. Pods can reach the hundreds while they wait to progress. This happens because while the pods who get there first wait for the openings, it gives other pods time to catch up. Even beluga whales might appear because they migrate at similar times to similar locations. In fact, both whales are extremely social and often found traveling together. Once they find openings in the ice, it's time to travel into waterways like the Eclipse Sound. This is a game of trial and error as narwhals bob up to the surface with little breathing holes, and looking for the next ones, they go back underwater. The ice has retreated and the pod has made it to warm, shallow waters like those around the northern end of Baffin Island. There are many reasons why they migrate out of the deep waters to shallow bays for the summer. A few reasons why they do this is they mate in April and May. So from May to June, it's important to get to warmer, shallow waters to give birth. This calving also means females tend to migrate earlier. They also come here to molt. This is the practice of splashing against the surface of the water and rubbing against rocks. This helps them shed their dead skin. But I think the biggest reason they come here is the presence of their favorite food, Arctic char. During the trip back to their winter territory, they aren't waiting for openings in the ice. They're racing to beat the ice. Going wild. The narwhal's giant tusk, probably worth hundreds of dollars. So everyone would be out trying to kill narwhals for their tusks, if not for a certain law. Only native Inuit people are allowed to hunt narwhals, but they don't hunt narwhals for their tusks. They hunt narwhals for their meat. But before the law was made, kings, queens used to use narwhal tusks in thrones and scepters. Narwhals are a near-threatened species. This means that narwhals aren't completely safe, but they aren't threatened, endangered, or critically endangered because there are 80,000 left in the world. To the Inuit tribe, narwhal harvesting is a way of life. The Inuit population relies on a healthy number of narwhals. You won't find narwhals in any aquariums, even if you search every aquarium in existence. That's because in all attempts of keeping a narwhal in captivity, the animal died shortly after it was captured. Some people ask, Are narwhals aggressive towards humans? The answer is simple. No. Narwhals are not aggressive towards humans. They will be aggressive if you hurt them, though. But other than that, narwhals are not aggressive toward humans. Super cool narwhals. Narwhals are creatures of territory. This means they tend to go back to the exact place they went last year. That is why we say they migrated to their summer territory. A tusking display is when two narwhals cross or touch tusks. Narwhals aren't just called narwhals and the unicorn of the sea. They're also called corpse whales because sailors thought they looked like dead bodies. Who are narwhals related to, and which way does their tusk spiral? Well, narwhals are related to dolphins, beluga whales, and other whales. All narwhals' tusks spiral counterclockwise. Other questions that people ask are, how deep can narwhals dive, and how old can they get? Narwhals can dive up to a mile deep and rarely can live to be 99 years old, but typically they live to be about 30 to 40 years old. In conclusion, narwhals are truly mysterious, fascinating, wonderful creatures, and the one and only unicorns of the sea, with what I think is one of the coolest migrations in the creature world, plus very cool adaptations and body parts.